Have you ever looked at someone, maybe a friend, a partner, a coworker, and felt something wasn't quite right, but you couldn't explain why? Have you ever questioned your reality after spending time with someone, thinking, am I going crazy? Or is this person just wrong for me? If so, you're not alone. And this video, this story, is about to reveal something that may change the way you look at people forever. Before we dive deep, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Stick around till the end, because one of these signs might explain why someone in your life is draining your soul, and what Stoic philosophy says you must do about it. Let's begin. 1. Constant manipulation. Nobody warned Armin about it. There are moments when love doesn't come accompanied with a pyrotechnic display. It sneaks up on people like Zara sometimes. She had that kind grin, that sympathetic voice, and the knack for making him feel noticed. Although he had spent his whole life erecting barriers, she was the first person who had inspired him to break them down. However, genuine love does not diminish your worth. It started out little. Going out with your friends again makes it clear that you don't care about me. It said in a way that sounded kind, even complimentary. He changed his mind. Guilt followed. I suppose I'm simply overly sensitive. Maybe I should just refrain from expressing my emotions. He began to apologize for something he wasn't even sure he had done wrong. Afterwards, gaslighting occurred. You're doing it all wrong. He thought she was exaggerating things, but she was actually sowing seeds of doubt in his mind. You are not alone if you have ever loved someone who caused you to doubt your emotions and sanity. That's the feeling of being constantly manipulated. That's not shouting, slamming doors, isn't it? It's like a slow psychological pull where you start to rely on someone else's approval and worry that they might let you down. The question, am I the problem, greets you upon awakening each day. He informed me, I used to be outspoken, humorous, and self-assured. Now I tread carefully. When it comes to this, Stoicism is key. I will gladly change if someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, stated Marcus Aurelius. Yet I must remain still if their intention is only to rattle my spirit. That's the thing to keep in mind when you're smitten with someone who never lets you feel right, no matter how much evidence points to the contrary. Divorce is not a recovery process. You recover by recalling who you were before they started changing your identity. So if someone in your life continuously manipulates, confuses, or dominates the emotional atmosphere of the connection, move back. Don't explain. Don't beg to be understood. Silence is power. Detachment is strength. And you are not insane. You're recuperating from emotional poison camouflaged as love. 2. A mask of charm. Charismatic people are the worst, aren't they? The ones who can still bring a smile to your face even after a long day, who say sweet nothings when you're down, and who gaze at you as if you were their only special guest. That's how she won Armin over. Not with coercion, but through imagination. Because of her, he felt like the hero of a romantic comedy. What does she mean by that? Craving sparked. Will she pay attention to her? Appealing greatly. Her praises? Just when I needed it. He pondered. This is the essence of genuine love. True love, on the other hand, doesn't make you nervous whenever they don't respond. It is not accompanied by sudden changes in mood and unpredictability in temperature. What is real? Her charisma was an act, putting up a show to hide her heartlessness from him. She completely turned the tables on him when he eventually attempted to convey his feelings of being lost and exhausted. You're different now. You show too much emotion. You're being dramatic. Where is the woman I fell in love with? He kept asking himself. However, she was an illusion. A mask she was. The way evil lurks is this, under the light. But with grins. Among texts that say good morning or I miss you. Within the tender touches that numb the icy stillness that follows. Illusions of charisma lead to perplexity. As a result, you find yourself clinging even more tightly than necessary. And the worst thing? To this day, he still holds himself responsible. Because you start to think, you're the problem when someone treats you like a king than like a stranger. A wise Stoic once said, we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca. But suppose the truth is terrifying. Would you still love them if they were two separate people? What if their charisma is just an escalator to their true goal of breaking you? Next, you need to get up and about. No one deserves your allegiance when they use sweetness as a weapon. Get some rest. You deserve it. Total absence of sound. Room to relax. Take a moment to reflect. Have you ever loved someone who was perfect in every way except for making you feel safe? There was no love in that. The performance was that. As for you, the spectators, a role player isn't deserving of you. Even in the most inconvenient of times, you deserve a genuine person. It is time to remove the mask. You own it, not them. The one you put on when you want to act as if everything is all right when, in reality, you know it's not. Because speaking the truth is the first step towards healing. 3. Lies without conscience. Recall the first time they lied to you. It wasn't big, was it? Very innocuous. They could have been around that area. I don't know who they were corresponding with via perhaps anything was just forgot to be mentioned. And you loved them so much that you were willing to overlook their flaws. Armin acted in that manner. Upon his inquiry, Zara grinned and responded, "You're being insecure again." She then revealed that she was really out with friends. But ironically, one of them was the same person she had previously warned him not to worry about. Instead of doubting her, he doubted himself. It's a hallmark of the wicked. Their deceit is unflinching. I'm not guilty. Without reservation. Just fresh chili shipment. And the worst part is, just by raising doubts, they make you feel bad. In spite of staring you down, lying through their teeth, and kissing you goodbye, there are certain people. They slumber soundly as your thoughts swirl in a whirlwind of worry and bewilderment. You have to ask yourself, though, how often have you exposed their illogical lies? It's because they aren't attempting to be logical. This is only a test. Challenge yourself, finding out how much of your dignity you're ready to give up in order to maintain the connection. The more you let them off the hook, the more deceitful they appear. In order to maintain trusting her, Armin once told me, I started lying to myself. That really stung, because it's not when other people lie to you that causes heartache. It's when you lie to yourself. The intimacy, the promises, the laughter, and the memories cling to you like a lifeline. You trick yourself into thinking they're the same person. Nevertheless, the reality? They were never that version. They were only portraying a role until you developed an attachment. An important lesson from Stoicism is that we should not put our faith in those who are chronically untrustworthy. Have faith in their deeds rather than their words if there is a discrepancy. So turn around. How did their I love yous line up with their treatment of you? Were you reassured or perplexed by them? Were they supposed to be, or did they just tell you tales? Please don't feel bad about nodding your head in agreement at this moment. Come to life. You were not ignorant. You meant it. You loved deeply and they took advantage of that. Now you get it. Deception is not an error. It's up to you. And a person who does not feel shame when they lie would love without regard. 4. Lack of empathy. Armand sobbed in front of Zara on that chilly evening. The strong, collected person eventually broke down. Simply put, I am exhausted. Some parts of me no longer exist. Do you recall her exact words? Your constant dramaticness baffles me. He was transformed by the subsequent stillness. Something inside you dies every time a loved one sees your suffering and reacts with irritation instead of concern. Was it your first time? The one when you confide in them, expecting they'll listen to you for a change, but they ignore you? Can you believe it? Just leave alone? Unlike betrayal, it rips to the core. Being in the same room as someone makes you feel abandoned. The problem about wicked people is that I don't think they're stupid. They aren't empathetic. Your pain is obvious to them. Nobody gives a damn about it. The power it grants them is something they relish, or even worse. Love was a tool Zara could use, but only when it benefited her. She would become distant, icy, and nearly vicious just when Armin needed her the most. No yelling from her. Her emotional presence would simply vanish. When did he bring it up? You're too sensitive, she would remark. Listen, if they try to make you feel bad about being emotional, you should probably just go. The foundation of genuine connection is empathy. When it's missing, love becomes a covert kind of manipulation. Also, a lot of us are duped by those who seem to be loving even when they don't really feel it. Armin came to that realization much too late, that there was never a horrible moment. When he sobbed alone, or when she stared through him, as if he weren't there, it was the real her. When someone is cruel, keep in mind that they are also going through tough times. Yet it does not justify their actions, as Marcus Aurelius wisely put it. When we empathize with another person, we respond to their suffering with compassion, not scorn, and therefore consider this. Did they comfort you more while you were hurting or wound you worse? Is it true that they listened while you were upset, or did they shift the conversation? Were you met with utter stillness when you needed love most? You can tell that way. What truly defines evildoers is not their actions, but also their inability to feel anything. And if you've ever felt that type of icy treatment, listen up. Gentleness is due to you. A person should be there for you while you're crying and tell you, "I've got you." Not the type to turn your suffering into a weapon. Not the type to use your weaknesses as weapons. You can't make someone feel anything when they don't already. Still, you have the power to put an end to your bleeding if you're worried about someone who doesn't care about your pain. 5. The hunger for control. May I inquire of you something? Has a relationship ever made you feel like you couldn't be yourself? As if your thoughts and feelings were no longer valued. Your voice became less audible, and your entire existence became centered around another person who never once inquired about your opinions. For Armin, that was the start. Once upon a time, Zara made him feel noticed and desired. She used to probe him about his day, his goals, and his itinerary. But eventually those inquiries turned into manipulation. When are you planning to return? Mutually became, why were you too busy to return my call? Who is that sending you that text message? Go ahead and tell me why you're like Instagram photos. He initially referred to it as love. In hindsight, he saw it was all about control masquerading as care. Those that are evil desire power. They are afraid of losing you, and not in a romantic sense. Not because they love you. Toxically possessive, that is. Put it in your mind. When you were happy apart from them, did they ever become furious? When you went out with pals or tried something new, did they become irritable? Were they trying to make you feel bad about decisions you made that didn't affect them? My dear, it is not love. I am hungry. An insatiable drive for supremacy. In order to manage your own space, feelings, and life, just to avoid Zara's wrath, Armin would forego going to the gym, cancel plans with friends, and even cut ties with his family. He believed he was demonstrating loyalty. He was only undergoing conditioning, though. Power doesn't always yell. Sometimes it mutters. It starts with small concessions and gradually erodes your identity until you can no longer recognize yourself when you look in the mirror. Plus, the reality is that they will only claim to love you if you play by their rules. The instant there is any hint of defiance, even a small one, the monster appears. Outbursts of anger, accusations, and detachment from feelings. No man is free who is not master of himself. This is a teaching of Stoicism. Someone owns you if they have command over your feelings, decisions, and sense of self-worth. And it's not only bad for your health, utterly wicked. So hold on a second and inquire. In that relationship, when did you last feel completely at ease? Were you ever on guard? Or did you feel comfortable being yourself? To love is to breathe, not to be confined. You are not weak if this feels like your tale. I think your level of concern was excessive. However, you deserve my undivided attention now. 6. Blame games and deflection. Now let's not pretend for a second, just to avoid conflict. How often have you felt the need to apologize for something you didn't actually do? Yeah, that form of affection? You won't get well from it. It dries you out. While Armand was at work once, he neglected to respond to a message. Zara lost her mind. Every time I try to get your attention, you tune me out. I feel like you no longer value my feelings. I bet you spoke with someone else, as an alternative to just stating, "Hey, I missed you today." She turned him into the antagonist in a fictional scenario she created in her imagination. What exactly did Armand do? There was an apology from him. He only wanted to put an end to the disagreement, even though he had done nothing wrong. However, isn't that the catch? Those who do evil never own up to their mistakes. In terms of deflection, they are experts. Then they'll say you're to blame for the blood after they hurt you. You will be deceived by them. Induce skepticism in your perception of reality. You'll start to doubt your sanity as they distort the truth and fabricate stories. When was the last time someone fought and you were the one who got blamed? Regardless of who initiated it, somehow it always worked out. Even when you caught them in the act of dishonesty, rudeness, or lying, the following may be familiar to you. You show too much emotion. No matter what, you always seem to steal the show. You're the apple of my eye. My dear, it is not love. Psychological warfare is what that is. Worse is the fact that you begin to believe it. Armand experienced that exact thing. He began to question, am I truly that poisonous? Perhaps I overreact. Perhaps it's me who brings chaos. But no. In the midst of a terrible storm, he was only a decent man, an important principle of Stoicism. is that one should not take on blame that doesn't belong to you. In love, it is not your responsibility to take on the feelings of another person and claim them as your own. Therefore, allow me to pose the following question. Was being forthright ever an excuse for you to apologize? Is setting boundaries anything you've ever felt bad about? Have you ever tried to ease their grief by assuming responsibility for their mistakes? Afterwards, you will fully understand my point. It wasn't insane of you. You were prepared. Playing the blame game is a control tactic. They gain greater authority the more you take the blame. Everything changes, though, when you realize the pattern. You start to feel better. You start to reassert your authenticity. Then you start to say, "No, I refuse to be the one to bear that load." 7. The pleasure of pain. Do you know what it's like to feel like people become distant the more you sob? As if your suffering really strengthened them rather than calming them. Armand experienced that exact thing. He lost it after only one dispute. His voice wavered, his eyes widened with tears, and his heart hurt as it had never hurt before. He clung to the hope that she would cease if she could see how much anguish he was in. Not Zara, though. She only locked eyes with him, grinned and murmured, "You understand my emotions now. Give that some thought. Some bad people don't even use their hands when they attack. They only play with your emotions. What hurts won't get better with them. For the sheer joy of seeing you writhe, they will push on them. And you know just what I mean if you've ever had feelings for someone like that. They were able to twist that knife more and more as your vulnerability increased. During arguments, they would bring up your fears and doubts, laugh at your sobs, use phrases like "man up" or "you're too sensitive." They would take advantage of your weakness, and you would, in turn, get cold. Stoicism teaches us that suffering may really be a source of strength, rather than a prison. But what if the person you love the most is also the one hurting you? Ensnared you are, feeling lost, broken, for the simple reason that your spirit begs you to flee, even as your heart claims to remain. Loving someone who is always hurting you while simultaneously accusing you of being too near is like that. Before I ask you, when you sobbed in front of other people, did you ever feel better afterwards? Just imagine if someone mocked you after you pleaded for understanding. If such is the case, you were not loved but used to reflect their own self-doubt, served as a sling for their fury, utilized as a marionette in their psychological games. Villains aren't interested in making things better. Dominance is their goal, plus they may use your suffering as evidence that they're winning. However, that changes the instant you mention, "You will not find amusement in my tears. Your power does not comprise my pain." In Zara's defense, Armand ceased sobbing. He began to heal, not because he lost all emotion. And the same is true for you. 8. Isolation as a weapon. This one, though, will sting more than you may expect. When you love someone, did they ever progressively isolate you from the world? Calls from friends ceased. Your family became aware of your aloofness. If you wanted to avoid arguments, you had to give up doing what you enjoyed. Armand was oblivious to anything occurring at first. For example, Zara may remark, "Your friends have a negative impact on you. You seem to be always chatting with your mom on the phone. I am the only one you need." Before it turned into a prison, it sounded lovely. Not out of any desire to be near, but rather to maintain power in the absence of witnesses. Bad individuals will isolate you. So long as you're in a crowded place, someone will probably notice when someone is abusing you. You might be reminded of your value by someone. A somebody may come and rouse you. Consequently, they remove all of your means of support. Rather slowly, in a strategic sense. So where do you stand? To you, it's simply a matter of being loyal. Birthdays were skipped by Armand. He ceased attending football games. Not even his sister's texts were acknowledged. All because Zara instilled in him the belief that being social was a kind of betrayal. This is all cerebral. Their words might make you feel like everyone is out to get you, that no one else gets you as they do. However, in reality, they are slowly severing your oxygen supply. What the Stoics say, while he may be independent, a smart man is not a loner. No one's love should ever demand that you give up all for them. Your world should be enhanced, not supplanted by it. So I must inquire, has your relationship caused you to cut off contact with your friends? To escape criticism, did you start telling fibs to your loved ones? Have you ever felt lonely even after limiting your relationships to just one person? You were unloved in that case. You felt alone. The lovely reality, though, is this. Those who care for you most deeply, upon your return, they will be patiently waiting. We were never gone, they'll claim. All we wanted was for you to see the reality. Armand got back in touch with some old acquaintances. Crying uncontrollably, he phoned his sister. He had a sense of humanity that he hadn't felt in a long time. Get out of your shell if you've been forced to. Make contact with that long-lost acquaintance. Get back to your house. Tell it like it is. You were never supposed to face this challenge by yourself. 9. Jealousy in disguise. Armand saw jealousy as a sign of concern. For example, Zara may remark, "I will not tolerate any other girls approaching you," she said. "I adore you to excess to part with you." And to start with, the compliment was nice. Needed, he felt. Ideally suited, claimed. Eventually, though, her envy became possessive rather than protective. The waitress would give him the silent treatment if he smiled at her. Never could bring up the subject of cheating in conversation with a former classmate. Would feel guilty just being anywhere other than in her presence. When you were in a relationship, did it ever feel like you were breaking the law? In a world where love was accompanied by skepticism, limitations, and rules? This is going to seem quite harsh, but hear me out. My dear, it is not love. That's command infused with the aroma of love. Being a Stoic means learning to watch rather than react. Plus, the real form of envy becomes apparent with enough observation. Love isn't at stake. The theme is dread. You feel insecure. The other person's faith in you is being dripped dry by an unhealed wound in their past. Maybe you should go be with her then, Zara suggested in response to Armand's TV compliment to an actress. No big deal, he just laughed it off. However, the mirth morphed into disagreements. Disputes escalated into tense situations. Anger transformed into shame. Very quickly, he began to filter not just his ideas and words, but also his emotions. When you're in love, you can't be yourself, you know what I mean? When you never want to trigger someone's emotional turmoil, thus you tread carefully around them. That's the hidden price of envy. What no one tells you is this. Instead of proving love, jealousy shows that none exists. True love is trustworthy. Sincere affection lives. When you love someone really, you may be yourself without fear of judgment. Zara was not in Armand's corner. Afraid of being left behind, she was trying to shield herself. She should have helped him get over it, but instead she punished him. He was the one who ended up paying for her injury. I don't think so anymore. Then it hit him. Love does not confine. Being watched is never a sign of affection. So consider this. How does your relationship make you feel? Or just watched? Are you capable of being authentic? Is it the one that calms them down exclusively? A peaceful response to those questions is essential. You are already aware of the reality. 10. The unrepentant heart. Armand finally snapped at this. Myths excluded, not the control. None of it, not even envy. She seemed completely unapologetic. There were no sincere expressions of regret whenever she caused him pain. No sound at all. Shouting out. Alternately, you might shift the responsibility onto him. Does anyone have any experience with that? Now, you're bringing up a painful memory. Also, I'm sorry won't be heard. Did you hear? You're being dramatic. Without you, I never would have done that. Your emotions get the best of you. Loving someone with an unrepentant heart feels like that. It's tiring, not to mention painful. How do you get over someone who refuses to acknowledge that they ever harmed you? During the night, Armand would lie awake and ponder. Am I going insane? Was the agony only in my head? Maybe I'm simply overly sensitive. Because she refused to accept blame, he gaslit himself. However, a recollection from his grandfather's past sprung into his mind. Do not be surprised if the same person hurts you again if they can do it guiltlessly. And then it hit him. Love wasn't in this. Being alive meant this. His intention was to make her feel comfortable. Therefore, he shrank. Though it does urge us to guard our tranquility, Stoicism does not command us to despise other people, to subconsciously distance ourselves from those who depress us. I have a question for you. Is that anything you've ever done when you were upset? When you asked someone to be nice to you, have you ever felt that you were the bad guy? Then your heart has loved someone without remorse. Plus, you should have better. Because love isn't love if it doesn't include accountability. Exploitation is the term. Zara said her actions were always a secret. The scars were never an excuse for her. Still, Armand, for his own sake, he forgave her nevertheless. True closure does not include apologizing. To go on, you must first realize that you do not require one. Therefore, to anybody is viewing this, their failure to express regret. If they caused you to doubt your own emotions, assuming they turned a blind eye to your pain, do not keep waiting for an explanation. They will never provide you the serenity you deserve. Conclusion. Do you see a familiar face among these signs? Have you surrendered your spirit to someone whose words bring you joy but their deeds bring you pain? In that case, there is only one thing I ask of you. Pick yourself. Without wrath, not with resentment, but with precision. Withdrawn from harm. Honestly, however, because avoiding evil rather than destroying it is the only way to triumph over it. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.